Welcome to Hacking the Universe. I'm Erin Werley.
I'm Philip Werley.
We're so excited to be here with each and every one of you today. So we actually wrote out a list. Look at how prepared we are. So we know what we're going to talk about. But first, what did we do this morning, babe? How much fun was that?
Oh, it was incredible.
Yeah. Well, what was it? What did we do?
Oh, we went and had a couples massage.
Oh my gosh, it was so amazing. We did this once when we were in Virginia Beach 11 years ago. And now we did it again. It was amazing. It's Wednesday morning for us right now. And we started off with a massage. The kids are at Grandma and Grandpa's. We're having an amazing day. So we have so much we want to talk about. But first, if you are here for part 2 of the history of our world, that is in the SoulStar Energetics Masterclass that was released a few days ago. So I will put the link in the description below if you would love to watch that. I highly recommend it. It is incredible. Now, piggybacking on that, the history of the world, what was coming through when I was channeling it is essentially what I've been told from I Am God's Source for the last 2 years, that we have already won. The side of light, of God, has already won. And the side of darkness has known this for a long time. And they are simply throwing spaghetti or darts at the wall, trying to see if anything sticks, which is causing all of this chaos, right?
We've been seeing for the last couple of years.
Yeah, that's what we've been seeing. It's why. Right now. And like in a way, as human beings, we've sort of gotten used to so much of this chaos. But if we think back now to 3 or 4 years earlier, and then our entire life before that, like things were pretty steady.
Well, they had their plan and it was chugging along and they could take their time,
Yeah.
Problem, reaction, solution, whatever. And all of a sudden, like, the plan went out the window and now it's just been nuts the last couple of years.
Yeah.
They're just like...
They're scrambling.
They're scrambling.
And nothing they're doing is working.
No, it's really interesting. Nothing's worked. Like, the pandemic didn't.
It's because we have access to all of this higher dimensional light.
And people are waking up more than before. Like, it's crazy how many things like we discovered like 8-10 years ago that were cuckoo, and now people are like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Like people said that to somebody 10 years ago, they'd be like, you're absolutely insane. And now people are like, yeah, that makes sense.
We are all waking up more and more so every day. So we want to start off by talking about the CERN business.
Yes, the Hadron Collider.
Yeah, so I guess it's been shut off and they are going to turn it back on.
They've been calibrating it for years now, they say.
So it's coming back online bigger and better than ever before. And this is really showing up for us as a direct result of the side of darkness understanding that there is no timeline available to them where they win. Every single timeline available based on choice points moving forward, the darkness loses. It is literally already over. And so what we believe that they are trying to do is to cause a disruption in time in their own false light matrix, and within universal mind that is so big, with more energy than they've ever used at CERN before and this Hadron Collider, to try to create a timeline for themselves where they can potentially win. Yeah. And we know that they lose in every single timeline, because the Project Looking Glass, you can look that up on YouTube, is one of those government operations where they went in and they looked at all future timelines and they saw that every single one brings the fall of all these systems that have repressed humanity. So essentially the false light matrix falling in all future timelines. So this is part of the reason why I'm so relaxed about the whole thing and have been very relaxed over the last few years, is because we watch over and over again as they literally throw the spaghetti at the wall and try.
Everything they do, it just kind of like blows up in their face.
It sort of fizzles.
It's getting funny, actually, at this point.
They use the news to push it out and in fear, trying to get us to do a certain thing. But there's too many people choosing to hold light and not sink into that fear vibration that they can't.
They get like a small segment of the population, but I think that segment's getting smaller and smaller. Like, look at CNN ratings. Have you seen those graphs? CNN ratings like bottom of
people aren't interested in the news anymore because
they're catching on that it's just
absolutely,
it's like a reality TV show.
Absolutely, yeah. Do you want to say anything else about this?
Well, these like CIA operations, like tell us more about, because they've all been what's it called, declassified, where they release them to the public, and they're out there. You can look them up. There's all these CIA operations, and that's crazy. If you read them, it's like
they know.
If you already know this stuff, you wouldn't believe it's real, because it's like reading a sci-fi book.
And that's why they're
about these operations. Yeah, because people won't ever believe it. I mean, these are real CIA
they
operations.
Actually do have to show us what they're doing.
Yeah, I don't completely understand that, but they have this rule: they have to tell the public what they're doing, which is why there's all these conspiracy theorists that know all this stuff, because they've been open about it. Been telling us for decades. But these CIA operations are like something like you wouldn't even read a sci-fi book. It's crazy. The operations where they're having these people go into the ether and out of body experiences and going through time and stuff. It's crazy. And these are real like government files. It's crazy.
Yeah. And that is essentially the dark side, right?
Yeah.
So they've had access to a lot of this information because they have essentially, I'm going to say, created that, right? They've understood for hundreds of years now, ever since, and we talk about this in the masterclass, but and again, the link's down below, ever since.
It's on YouTube, right?
Right. The witches and wizards went into hiding, and they no longer had them to burn out in the open. They knew that, okay, they were safe when the witches and wizards were trying to combat them in the open, because they always won. So there was nothing, they wanted to keep that situation going where the witches and wizards were fighting out in the open and getting caught and burned at the stake. That was perfect for them. But as soon as all of a sudden a generation was born and no witches and wizards were coming forward, they were like, oh crap, something is changing. Mm-hmm. They had decided to essentially go to a new battle plan, right? And so they have been gearing up for this day for these days for the last few hundred years, getting prepared with. Now they have always used energy, right? They have the false light matrix uses the energy that is meant to be available to humanity. They have used it. They literally have all of the teachings intact from when they came from Planet One and were fully God, source, I am. So they have all of that intact. They know what they're doing, and they still know today. And we as humans, we weren't getting enough light because of this false light matrix created around us to receive that same knowledge that is literally our birthright, is literally encoded in our DNA and our cells of how to use this. I call it magic, but it's just simply using our minds to connect into unity consciousness and make changes at the point of creation. So with the changes in the light over the past few hundred years, now the past few years, we can access the same information, but they've been for the last I don't know, since the 1940s, maybe earlier, probably earlier, yes. Since the early 1900s, I'm hearing, have even before that, even I'm hearing soon after the Civil War, started doing these experiments now using huge groups of people to play with what their options were going to be when it came down to it, because they have always understood that if we ever understand who we are again and how to access our light, which is our power, it's literally our power, like literally that's what powers us up, is light. If we ever understood how to access that and use it, then we would just simply, we would crush them like gnats on our arm or something, like, so that would be it. And so that's why all of the CIA experiments have been done, trying to figure out ways to essentially, I'm hearing, crush people who are holding light. So so in these CIA experiments, where the documents talk about teaching people to have psychic abilities, or finding people for all these, not just Project Looking Glass, all these different things they did with the Monroe Institute as well, and there's others too. They say that they taught them or whatever, but what I'm hearing is that they were given more of their light to access from the false light matrix. So the false light matrix was essentially loosened around them. They then instinctively, the light came back into them and they were able to do these things. And so essentially those people were given this light to see how they could be destroyed, because they're afraid of us. So that's what I'm hearing right now. This isn't what is in the CIA documents, but this is what they're actually doing. They're opening, I'm seeing it right, they're opening the false light matrix to allow, like I'm talking about, we're consciously cracking it. Individuals who are choosing to hold higher vibration during this time instead of sinking into the fear around all the things that they're trying to make us fearful around. We're consciously cracking it, but they literally just loosened it. So there was a flood of light, and I'm hearing like 40 light points, like we talked about. And again, this is just an arbitrary number. I said 100 light points per human, but maybe it's not arbitrary because that's what I was told to say. So I'm hearing that they opened the false light matrix and let 40 light points in to these individuals. And then the point was they thought, the individuals participating thought they were helping with government research to change the world, right? So these were good people taking place in these experiments. They were not part of the darkness. And that's exactly why they were chosen, because the point was, give these people this light and see if we can, the dark side, see if we can literally destroy them, even if they're holding all that much light. And what I'm hearing is experiment after experiment was ended prematurely because they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. Not without taking the light away. So like closing the false light matrix. Right. Now they're not accessing the light, then they could. And that's what ended up happening. A lot of those people I'm hearing were potentially destroyed, whether in one way or another, whether mentally or something else, through these experiments. So something else about that, when the false light matrix closed around them and cut them off from those 40 light points and shot them back down to 1 or 2, they began doubting the experience that they had had. And so many of those people are walking around in society today thinking that was just a silly thing they did, that it turned out to be like a failed experiment, right? They actually, and I'm hearing they didn't actually have to do anything to these people. These people were so afraid of being labeled as crazy, they never would have talked about it. Like, it was just like, oh, well, glad that's over. And then as time goes on, it becomes this thing that probably wasn't how they remembered it, right? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Be rationalized.
Yeah. Yeah. That's interesting.
All right. What's next on the list?
Okay. Well, all right. So should we talk about it?
Sure.
Okay. We are going to talk about how obvious it is that dragons and dinosaurs are the same creatures. I said it. I said it out loud. We're going to publish this on YouTube, and everyone's going to know that I declare to the world that dragons and dinosaurs are the same creatures. I did it.
Yeah,
okay. That was something we've been talking about for years. Yeah. And we're like, oh, can't say that. We said it. Yeah. We did it.
That's something I can't say. People think crazy.
Yeah. Well, we're okay with that now. If people want to say they think we're crazy, that's okay. That's a choice I had to make.
Mm-hmm.
I had to make. The thing is, I really love channeling and getting downloads. Mm-hmm. Like what I just did a minute ago, where I was getting that information. That's really fun. I really want to continue that. And now I understand that when I say, oh, if I say this thing, people are going to think I'm crazy. Then I'm shutting off the flow of my magic. Yeah. So the way for everybody out there that's like, how can I do what Erin does? It's literally just be willing to share it, because it comes to the people who don't essentially act like a dam in the river. Like, right? It says, oh, thank you for telling this to me. I'm going to keep it to myself. So the more that we can flow with what wants to come through us, the more we'll be given to hold. So, but that took me years to get there. And I'll say another thing that really wants to come through about this whole thing, what's going on with this transition to New Earth right now, and the CERN and everything, is we are separating from the false light matrix as a human race. And this false light matrix has been a part of us for thousands of years. And this separation is painful. Even when you know you need to do it, it's still painful.
Yeah.
Separating from someone, even if you think of another person, even if this is a person that has caused you pain, it can still be, if they've been a part of your life for a long time, it can still be painful. And that's okay. That's normal. That's part of it.
It's and so difficult for people to leave abusive relationships.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, because there's emotions, feelings attached.
And then you're starting anew, and it's messy. Yeah. So whenever you're creating something new, it's messy because you gotta kind of like break down what all it is. It's like cleaning your house. It gets messy before it gets clean.
Yeah. So when we talk about these false light matrix ideas, it's painful because we have been programmed in the false light matrix to believe certain things are true. And when we are told something that we've been programmed our entire life is not actually true, that hurts because it's part of us. We have to go through the stages of grief and allow ourselves to do that. Either that or deny it and say, I can't handle this, go away. Right? Or say,
it takes a lot of inner strength to acknowledge that what you believed wasn't true and that you've been lied to. Yeah. And accept it's easier just to live in a delusion, but like, nah, I'm just gonna keep believing what I believe. Objectively, I can see.
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay, dinosaurs and dragons. You go ahead. You hit it, babe.
All right. Well, this seems so obvious to me. For a long time we didn't know dinosaurs existed, but there are all these stories about these dragons for like thousands of years. Go to ancient China, and all of the cultures have stories about these dragons. And there's drawings of dragons. There's stories about these knights fighting dragons, and there's paintings of them. Very clear depictions of them. And ancient people talked about dragons like they were real. The Romans thought that dragons were real. And we think, oh, they were just silly, ignorant people. These were not ignorant people. These were the Greeks and the Romans. These people created the languages we use today and the math and everything. These people are probably a lot smarter than we are today, and they believed in this stuff. And now, all of a sudden, we start 1900s, we start digging up all these bones of these giant reptiles. And the first inclination people have isn't, well, obviously, these are the dragons that people are talking about. That's not our inclinations. They're like, well, must be things from millions of years ago that nobody's seen before, even though our ancestors were talking about these things for thousands of years. So, like, clearly, these are obviously the dragons they were referring to. And they're just dead, and we're digging up their bones now. And
let me say something about clearly and obviously, though, because to us now, we've been talking about this for a few years, so it seems clear and obvious. But I can remember laying down and doing essentially light work a few years ago, and receiving this message. The first message is that the sun is I am, the physical manifestation of I am. So that's number one. Number two, dragons are dinosaurs. Yeah. So I don't know if you remember that, but that's how we got this. And I came out of the bedroom, and you were in the office, and I came and I was like, listen to this spell. And you're like, your jaw dropped, because you were like, yeah, of course. How did I not see
it's
that?
like once it's said, it seems obvious.
Right.
It's
but
like,
before, but we never wondered about it before.
Right.
So it's like, it's just, we literally are programmed with what we are taught in school, and we are taught in school extensively. And not only in school, we're taught as children, that dinosaurs are fun to play with, right? And dragons are fun to play with, but they're two very separate things.
They're both giant reptiles.
Yes. So the other part of this is I got as a download, as part of my download last Wednesday, that became the channeled history of the world, was very, very clear that dragons were on the side of the witches and wizards, the side of goodness. And so they were destroyed.
Now, would that mean...
Now, it's interesting. They were destroyed, and I'm going to tell you guys this. It's going to blow your mind. I only just received this right this second to tell you, so I'm going to tell you. They were destroyed as soon as the witches and wizards went into hiding. So up until about 300 years ago, I'm hearing right now, the dragons were still here. But the witches and wizards were literally working with them and protecting them as part of going into hiding. They stopped protecting them from more modern weapons, and the dragons were all ended. So it's actually so recent. That is why they created the idea. This is all coming to me right now. I didn't know I was going to say this. That's why they created the idea of dinosaurs over the last few hundred years, so that we would not connect the dots and see our history, our true history, our magical history. And the fact that, so when we see all of these stories about dragons destroying things, it's dragons destroying the people that are attached to the false light matrix, the people that are attached to the dark entities off planet. That's who was being destroyed. And of course, they're the ones that have written our history, which, so that's, oh, wow, that's so fascinating.
It is. Yeah. It's interesting how dinosaurs are depicted. Now they keep changing it. Now dinosaurs have, I don't know if you noticed, they have feathers now.
Yeah, that's in the last few years. Yeah.
Have you ever seen a lizard with feathers? Like, where they get this idea from? It's ridiculous. But they actually, it's interesting. I saw a picture. They, I don't know what museum they have this in, but it was a big deal when they found it. They found a fossil of a dinosaur, and this was like first of its kind. It was an actual dinosaur fossil of a dinosaur with its scales and everything, all scales on it, so like what they look like, right? And when I went, I'm like, well, this is interesting. I want to see this picture. And I'm thinking it's going to look something like dinosaurs. No, when I saw it, I was like, holy crap! It's a freaking dragon. It was exactly like the pictures of dragons that we have people from thousands of years ago. It's a freaking dragon. I'm like, oh my god, it's a dragon! They're like, oh, this is a dinosaur, but it's it's a weird looking one, whatever. I'm like, it's clearly a dragon. It's exactly like they drew them.
Now, how about these little arms on dinosaurs that literally serve no purpose at all?
Yeah, I don't know.
Wings. Oh.
like the rest of the wing is missing.
Well, because it's not bone, the rest of it is cartilage. So the cartilage disintegrated or decomposed.
She's saying T-Rexes didn't have little arms; they had big, huge wings.
Yeah, and that
makes a lot of sense.
The other parts
that never occurred to me.
Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense.
Because those arms are like literally useless. They're like literally this big on a dinosaur bigger than our house.
Yeah, why would they even have it? Yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, so the bone is just in the very.
It's just
and then cartilage. Yeah.
Huh.
It's really Phil and I love to talk about interesting things.
That's really deep. That really blew my mind. Like, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
So, that was pretty awesome, wasn't it?
All right. Should we move on to the next topic?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
This is yours. This is all yours, babe.
It's mine? What is?
Yeah. This is the last one. We talked about everything else.
Oh, I just told you this because we're watching them. Why did this come up? Oh, we were watching a movie and this came up.
We've talked about this before, though. It's just not for this specific actor.
No. Oh, yeah. We talk about this all the time. But, yeah, it's, I saw an interview with, what's his name?
Sauron.
Sauron. Was it Christopher Lee? I think his name is. He's a really famous actor. He played Sauron, the evil wizard in Lord of the Rings, and he was also in Star Wars. He was a Sith Lord. But he passed away a few years ago. And I saw on YouTube, it's really interesting, this interview with him. And it wasn't like a real interview. It was like he was sitting on a stage and people in the audience were asking questions. And one of the people on the stage asked a question. And the question was, I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was about this dark stuff in Hollywood and the occult in Hollywood and the Satanism and their rituals and all this stuff. And they basically wanted to know if it was real. It was really interesting, his answer, I'm just paraphrasing because I can't remember exactly what he said, but basically what he said was, whatever you do, don't get involved in it, because I know from experience it'll steal your soul. I was like,
well, that's not the first time that
pretty much sums it up. Like, so people doubt if this is real. He's like, just stay away.
That is not the first time that we have seen a video from someone in Hollywood that has literally said this stuff is real.
Oh yeah, happening. There's a lot of. If you look for them, there's a lot of.
There's a lot of people that are. You're not going to see that from the A-list actors that are walking the red carpet every single time. But the actors that are not quite as big, a lot of them have said that.
Or anyway, just like when they're asked a question, be like, well, yeah, like he did, like, stay away because I know from experience. So he's basically saying, I've been involved in it.
Of course, the Satanism and the soul stealing is part of these dark energy structures. It's part of their how they come through the people they really have their hooks into. It's not something that you would want to go anywhere near at all. That's very much dark magic, and it's really bad news.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of big musicians and even some actors that have admitted that they made a deal. Mm-hmm. The words they use, I made a deal with you know who. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
Yeah, they're not hiding it. It's just like with the talking about the released CIA documents. Part of this is they can't lie about what they're doing.
Yeah.
They have to.
There's one thing I haven't been able to figure out. Like,
well, it's because because we are sovereign beings, and so just like how I explained in the masterclass, it had to be humans' choice to have the false light matrix, because we are creator beings, we are creator gods, we are the consciousness of the God of this universe. And so if they don't have our agreement, even if we think they're joking, they're here, they are telling us what they're doing, and if we don't stop them, then we are agreeing. Exactly, agreeing. Right? So it's how this all works. In order to keep the false light matrix, nobody has to stand up and say, we are literally choosing to dismantle the false light matrix. But we're now at the time when plenty of people are choosing to dismantle the false light matrix. I'm so excited about everyone that is joining me. Well, it will have started yesterday when you see this video in Lightworkers 101 with SoulStar Coding, where we are going to learn the basics of highest dimensional light work, the basics about the false light matrix, and how to literally change time, as well as everything that came through in the original Lightworkers 101. And I'm so excited how that's going to come through. So please join us if that calls to you. And then also, we have had quite a few people that were an instant yes for joining me in the Light Warriors journey that's going to start in September, where we're actually going to be going back to choice points that humanity has had in the past and changing history, which is going to bring the false light matrix down. So I'm so excited about that journey that's starting in a few months. I'm so excited about everything that's happening for humanity right now. Yes, we have this separation period that we're going through, and separation is painful, but that's okay. It is ushering in this beautiful new age where humans have access to their light, to their energy, and there is no one anymore programming all of these false templates into us. So I'm so excited about where we're going. And it's like when I see the news now or whatever, I find it incredibly boring. It's just another replay of how they're trying to throw a spoke in the wheel, and they're
That's one thing I have to know, though, and it's like it's to the point where it's like really obvious.
Yeah,
a lot of people have been catching on.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us for another episode of Hacking the Universe. This was so much fun. Say bye.
Goodbye.
We'll see you next week. Have a beautiful, beautiful day.